This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you feel like your best, fam, you can do anything. You can accomplish all those goals in your life, make sure your family's good, and even start, who knows, a mildly successful podcast. Sometimes life gets you bogged down. You might feel overwhelmed. You're not showing up every day the way that you want to. But working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. The benefits of therapy are endless. It's great to just check in with somebody who can give you some perspective on life. Make sure that you're meeting all the goals that you've set for yourself in life. So whether or not you've been in therapy, now could be the time to give BetterHelp a shot. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out their brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Couldn't be easier. If you want an empowered life, therapy can get you there. So visit BetterHelp.com/madaboutmovies today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/madaboutmovies.
Hey, I'm going to grab a bottle of water. I'll be right back.
Go for it. I just saw Evil Dead.
You saw it?
I did.
In a theater?
Actually, yes.
Wow.
Can this please be our cold open?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Make yourselves comfortable. I'm Kent Garrison.
I'm Brian Gill.
And I'm Richard Barton. And I'm also not paying attention.
And this is Mad.
Movies?
Da, 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 da. You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world got crazy. It's showtime.
Mad About Movies is your go-to podcast for all the latest movie news, movie rumors, and, of course, movie rumblings. For the first half of the show, we will discuss the ongoing world of cinema and all the key players and parties within it. For the second half of the show, we will break down our movie of the week. And for the last little portion of the show, we will give you our weekly recommends. If you've seen our movie of the week, please feel free to sit through the podcast. If not, listen to the beginning, listen to the end, and make sure you comment on iTunes. Brian, what is our movie of the week this week?
This week we will be discussing Evil Dead.
There was something in the woods. And I think it's in here with us.
Yeah! I'm really excited about this one. This is my idea, I think, this episode. So I'm glad you guys can oblige. And we're gonna have a good time with this one, I can tell. Let's get started with some movie rumors, guys. Movie news. And, of course, some movie rumblings. I just want to tell you guys, I'm going to tease something to you guys. I'm going to blow your guys' mind in this segment. I'm going to change your life. So be prepared for that. But first...
I've got some movie news that's very important to Brian and I.
So we do.
Guys, Wesley Snipes is out of jail.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's talk about that.
Brian wins tweet of the year for that on that. And Brian, I'll let you take your joke because it's probably the best joke I've heard all year. And after you, sir.
Well, I just simply pointed out that Wesley Snipes has been released from prison, and Fast and Furious 7 starts shooting this summer. So
yeah,
I'm just saying
it's gonna happen. You know it is.
He'll
be in the new Expendables. He'll be Expendables 3.
Yeah. Correct. Seriously, though, I know that somebody went to prison and met with some well-known director went to prison and met with Snipes about being in a movie. And now I put it in my head. I had it in my head as Expendables 3. So Stallone went and talked to him. But now I'm thinking maybe it was Spike Lee. Have either of y'all heard this? Am I just making something up? Okay, well, I don't have it. Sorry, I brought that half rumbling to the table, but
that is
I know somebody.
I'm holding that in my hand, and I can barely feel that rumbling.
In my head, it was Sly Stallone, and I was really excited about Snipes in Expendables 3. But now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like maybe it was Spike Lee, and that doesn't get me near as excited. But
no,
regardless, you know what, guys?
Guys, let's be honest. Is Wesley Snipes a good actor. I think the most memorable role is he's just standing there looking at the camera, not saying a word. You know what I mean?
Man. Tu Wong Fu.
Well, okay. Well, besides that classic, in Blade, does that have any value at all anymore?
To answer your question, no, he's not a good actor, but is Expendables 2 a good movie? No. But did I really enjoy it? Yes.
Well, that's a given. He's going to be in the Expendables. But other than that,
right.
what
That's
is
how
he
I
gonna
feel
do?
about him as a whole, though. Like, I get juiced up if he's in a movie, and I think he's capable of being decent from time to time. But I don't know, he's one of the few from that time period. Like, honestly, I probably would be more jazzed about Wesley Snipes in an action movie than I was for Schwarzenegger at the beginning of the year, for sure.
Right.
I don't know if I'm in the minority on that, but
No, I love Wesley, man.
Demolition Man,
Still.
Demolition Man needs to be remade with the same cast. It just needs to be Stallone and Dennis Leary and Snipes and Sandra Bullock, but just with better special effects and a better script. But no, I watched Demolition Man recently because it was on, I don't know, HBO or HDNet Movies or something, and
Lifetime.
Yeah, Lifetime movies. I got kind of jazzed seeing Snipes do his thing. I think that's one of his better. Yes, this is terrible and this is ridiculous, but man, he's fun to watch. Roles that he has. I don't know. I legitimately feel like he would be an incredible addition to the cast of Fast and the Furious Part 7. He should definitely be the villain.
The good news is, Brian.
Well, they're making it.
They're making they're never going to stop making Fast and Furious movies, so
and they
they'll
should
end up in there someday.
Yeah.
I think I'm directing Fast and the Furious 9, guys, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel is questionable racially, right? Like, no one knows what Vin Diesel really is, so there's no reason Wesley Snipes couldn't be his dad.
That's true. It's true.
He could be black. What is Vin Diesel? He's just kind of caramel.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm fine with that. Wesley Snipes is his dad or his brother. Richard and I at some point had this. We cast somebody as his dad. Now I can't remember who it was in our hypothetical Fast and Furious. It was somebody not Wesley Snipes, but I don't know. We're gonna have to go back on that. But totally, whether either as the villain or maybe as Dom's brother that he's in trouble and he's trying to get him out of trouble and get him on the straight and narrow or something. That needs to happen. So make it so, world.
Yeah, it'll happen. Don't worry. Are you guys ready? Are you guys sitting down?
Okay.
I am. Yeah. I usually stand up during our podcast,
Guys.
but I am sitting today.
MacGruber 2 is
I
happening.
know.
Yes.
Kent, you still haven't seen MacGruber 1, have you?
I have.
Oh, you saw it?
I saw it.
We have. What'd you think?
I'm excited for the sequel. I'll say that.
No, come on. I want detailed
Honestly,
thoughts.
I trusted your opinion on that one, and you guys didn't let me down. That's a quality comedy. It's stupid in pretty much every way, and that's what you could want. That's all you would ever want in those type of movies. So, yeah,
exceptionally funny.
It's exceptionally good. Yeah,
it's funny. Literally,
Will Forte. I really miss him, man.
I know.
He just
doing some
disappeared.
dramatic work now.
He needs to do more stuff.
I know. Forte is that movie. Just is. I'm literally grinning right now talking about it.
Yeah.
I watched it for the first time in a while this week, and I don't know why it tickles me so much. It just is so funny. I've seen it, Kent. I'm not kidding. I've literally seen it 20 times, and I don't only just smirk when I watch it. I giggle and laugh out loud.
I cackle.
And there's always so many funny things that I forget, and I'm trying to think of them right now, and I forget. And there's so many throwaway lines, and just the fact that Val Kilmer's in it is just awesome.
And he is sold out. It's not like, oh, Val Kilmer's in this. It's like, dude, Val Kilmer's in this. It's man,
He cares.
it's such a great look. Okay, let's put disclaimers on it.
Yeah.
If you're a woman, do not see this movie.
Yeah.
If
It's
you
only funny
are one of our dads, do not see this movie. But if you are a male in the, what would you say, 15, 16 to
16 to 40.
range, and you like ridiculous comedy, seriously, MacGruber is maybe the funniest movie since Anchorman.
It really is. As far as just it knows exactly what it is.
Yes.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes long. It's not
Tops.
a minute too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
It's like the shortest movie you've ever seen. It just literally is joke. It's like a 30 Rock episode. There's not a serious line in the movie. There's no arc. There's no anything. It is just a skit for an hour and 15 minutes, and it is some of the funniest stuff and just most ridiculous.
It's incredible.
I couldn't recommend it higher, and I cannot wait for a sequel. And I hope he goes to space or something. It's not. If you're familiar with the skit, it's not just the 20 seconds MacGruber. It's literally he's the most incredible Army Ranger Navy SEAL of all time. He's a legend in the military, and he's got to stop.
It's a takeoff of 80s and early 90s action movies.
It's the best spoof movie. Like maybe
it
some
is.
Airplane. I mean, people didn't
absolutely.
realize that's what it was. It's a spoof movie. It's like Scary Movie or these things. It's perfectly it spoofs every action movie imaginable.
Yes, but it's
the best,
good. So it's like Scary Movie, not like Scary Movie.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I mean, it's so much smart, so much better.
It could be called action movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's literally just scenes from great movies twisted a little bit. Will Forte is so locked into this character. I know it's stupid, but the more I watch it, I'm really impressed with what a good actor he is.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a ridiculous character, but he is MacGruber literally the whole time.
Yeah.
He never falters one bit. Every movement in his face is 200% MacGruber, and it's like the most committed you've ever seen anybody act.
And the only person in the cast who doesn't know that they're in a total spoof comedy is Ryan Phillippe. And he's acting so hard. He's trying so hard to be good. And it's like, and you can tell that he's trying hard. Everyone else knows that it's a bit, but a great bit. But Ryan Phillippe is just, man, he's trying so hard. It's so great. Richard and I have talked. How long have we known each other, Richard? 4 or 5 years, something like that?
Yeah, like we've known each other longer, but we didn't become close friends for probably the last 4 or 5 years, yeah.
We talk every day. We text or make out or whatever. We talk every single day, and probably would you say higher or lower than 50% of the, at least for long periods of time, more than 50% of the time, it's just about MacGruber.
That movie is 3 years old now, and it still occupies most of my movie thought. Like, I wish that I thought about, the Hurt Locker as much as I think about MacGruber, but I don't.
The Hurt Locker. Random.
Yeah. No, we've written the script in our text conversations. We've at least written treatments for what the MacGruber sequel should be like. I think the consensus between us is that we would like it to be a prequel and have it be back in the.
You honestly have time to write a screenplay.
Yeah,
you probably don't have one yet.
Yeah,
I actually tweeted Yorma Taccone like a month ago because he talked about that they were going to write the script. They're like, we're not going to probably be able to make the movie, but we are going to write the script just because we love this character so much. And I tweeted him and I was like, dude, I will do anything just to read the script. Like, that's what a fanboy I am for this movie. And it's the prequel idea because he assembles the team. Spoiler alert: he assembles the whole team of master killers. Right, MacGruber gets this all-star squad, and then he accidentally murders them all. And Brian and I were just talking about a really gritty.
Tug.
You guys okay? Somebody call 911. But like a really gritty Zero Dark 30 style Gulf War movie. Yeah. With MacGruber and that crew just wrecking shop. I mean, just going nuts. Expendable style. I would watch that and probably weep the entire time.
Oh, man. That is going to be epic.
So that's our weekly recommend.
Sequel might be more anticipated than Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
I mean, I just can't
There's
imagine.
There's probably people camping right now. Let's be honest.
I can't imagine, seriously, Ken, and I knew because anyone, like we said, 15 to 40 being male and not loving that movie. I can't understand you not wanting more of that. Yeah, the fact that it only made $10 million or whatever, it's got, I mean, even if they don't make the sequel, I mean, that's the definition of a cult classic. I will show that movie to everyone I know forever. I can't wait to watch MacGruber with my kids when they're like 17.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's got the greatest sex scene in the history of cinema. It's just incredible. It's a wonderful, and that's enough. I know people don't care, and the movie didn't make any money. But yes, the sequel, MacGruber 2,
Guys,
I'm in.
We're gonna be doing a podcast on MacGruber 2.
Oh
Let
yeah,
that sink in.
Totally.
I'm not kidding, Brian. If they have, I will drive to Toledo if they have a midnight screening. We have to go at
We got
midnight.
to do it. We got to do
Even if we
it.
have to rent the theater, we have to go at midnight.
Yeah.
Nice. Some more movie news, guys. I want to mention. There's a
Should be about really early, like a week early. Like we're here for MacGruber. Duh. I mean, just. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kent. Moving on.
more MacGruber news. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, Christopher Nolan's next movie. Did you hear about this, Brian?
Yeah, I did. I'm interested to hear the take that you guys have.
He has cast his leading man and woman, and the movie is called Interstellar. And the leading man is Matthew McConaughey, leading lady Anne Hathaway. Probably only cast them because their names kind of rhyme with each other. Because neither of them can really carry a film. So give me your thoughts, Brian.
I think that if this news had come down 2 years ago, I would have just hung myself in a bathroom somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of two people that I dislike more that I would want to be in a Christopher Nolan movie. But that said, as much as I hate Anne Hathaway, and I hate Anne Hathaway, like every other good red-blooded American, she's really good. And it kind of drives me crazy anytime she's in a movie where she's a good actress, because I just want to bag on her all the time. But, you know, she's very good in The Dark Knight Rises. Honestly, one of the better parts of the movie. She's great in her 5 minutes on screen in Les Mis. I mean, she's an excellent actress, and obviously Nolan works well with her. And McConaughey is such an interesting thing. Like, I don't understand how. I mean, he is a terrible actor, and then all of a sudden, this last 2 years, I guess, it's suddenly become the thing to do, to talk about how good of an actor McConaughey is, and they're not wrong. He's very good suddenly, and I don't know if he was always capable of that, and it was just the Ben Affleck thing of, I can get roles like Failure to Launch and I can get paid $20 million and women want to sleep with me, so I'll just keep doing that. Or if he learned how to be an actor somewhere along the line. But
I took some good peyote.
Yeah. Anyway, 2 years ago, that news would have been the worst thing in the world. But now I feel like I'm not as excited about that as I was for like DiCaprio and Inception, you know. But I mean, I'm going to see any movie that Chris Nolan does, so it doesn't really matter. But that's not near as catastrophic news as it would have been a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, and you're right, with the Lincoln Lawyer and Bernie and some other stuff McConaughey's done. What was that creepy NC-17 movie he did last year?
Killer Joe.
With that stuff, he's definitely kind of reinventing himself. I think these two are kind of inverse of each other. I think, for the last 5 years, I thought Anne Hathaway is enormously talented, but I would probably kill her if in a room with her. And McConaughey is the inverse of that, in that I think I thought for a long time he was talentless, but I'd love to hang out with Matthew McConaughey. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like these two completely opposite people. Maybe it's either going to be one of two things. They're either going to form together and be people I really like, and I really like them in the film, or they'll rub off each other in the wrong way, and I'll hate them both and hate them in the movie. But I don't think Christopher Nolan's going to waste his time. It reeks a little bit of stunt casting, but I'm excited. I think McConaughey, I'm excited to see him. You know, hopefully he took his agent out and just murdered him. Or just left him in the desert or something, and maybe hired somebody else. He is charismatic, and I think as he ages, is becoming even more so.
Yeah. You're right. He's a likable guy.
Yeah.
So, he has that going for him.
So I think if he can somehow harness that, I don't know. I don't think he'll ever be Daniel Day-Lewis.
Right.
But, could he be? I don't even know. I'm trying to think of somebody that's kind of just passable like that. I'll have to get back to it. He's not he's not that gonna ever be the A team, but I mean, I think he can definitely bump his way up to somebody that's really passable in film. And could he? Yeah, here we go. Could he be Daniel Day-Lewis? No. Could he be Mark Wahlberg? Maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, could he just get by on likability and just kind of throw in a good performance? That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm tentatively excited. I worry more about Anne Hathaway, but I loved her in Dark Knight Rises, and so I guess I don't worry at all. She'll be fine.
I'm glad we got to talk about that because that's really interesting. Do you know any details about the plot, Brian?
I did when it first came out. I believe it's based on a book. I don't off the top of my head. I did when it first came out. When he picked that up as his next project.
I heard it was going to be a Spielberg movie, but Spielberg passed on it and gave it to Nolan or something like that. It wasn't originally his movie, but
okay.
It's exciting, and I love Christopher Nolan. And like you said, I'll see anything he releases. So,
do we have a release date on it?
2015, I believe.
Okay.
Sure.
A couple years.
So
he'll probably do Superman, and then he'll probably work on the Superman sequel, right?
Yeah, probably Justice League. So
yeah,
who knows? Cross your fingers.
I'm seeing November of 2014.
Okay, so Oscar season
very late. Yeah, very late 2014. Okay. There you go. Nice.
Interesting. That's
okay. Here's what it's based on, guys. Here's the IMDb. Now, this is ringing a bell now. Okay, this is the IMDb page. An exploration of physicist Kip Thorne's theories of gravity fields, wormholes, and several hypotheses that Albert Einstein was never able to prove. So it's based on a work of nonfiction.
Okay.
Like
so more believable. McConaughey in this part or Denise Richards as Dr. Christmas Jones?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, he's already played some sort of scientist, wasn't he? He was like a scientist in Contact.
He was.
He was. What if he's the same character?
No, he was a lawyer. No, he was an author or a lawyer, wasn't he?
Oh,
I don't know if he was a scientist.
I've seen Contact.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Einstein, can you define these black holes? No, I cannot. Be a lot cooler if you could.
One of the most non-believable couples of all time, by the way, Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster in Contact.
Yeah.
Just horribly awkward. But hopefully Interstellar is as good as Contact when it comes to that type of movie, because Contact was a great movie that was kind of based on nonfiction, Carl Sagan and stuff. So
sure.
Anyway, let's one more thing I want to mention. We're talking about Evil Dead tonight, which is a horror movie. And Benicio del Toro just wrapped a movie called Pacific Rim that's about to come out this year. Highly anticipated, that I'm really, really excited about seeing. But his next project, details are coming out about it, and it's a horror movie as well. It's called Crimson Peak. I don't know if he's into unattractive, movie titles lately. Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak. It's kind of like... He's directing pornos or something, but it stars. The casting just came out for it, and it stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Jessica Chastain, and Emma Stone.
Ooh,
those
are three people I love.
Supposedly about a ghost, like a haunted house, straight up. So, Guillermo del Toro, I should say, not Benicio del Toro. Guillermo del Toro.
I was confused there for a second.
Guillermo del Toro, yeah. I just had del Toro, so that's what
sure
popped to my mind is Benicio, because alphabetical,
Right.
Anyway,
totally.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and we'll see. It's got a good cast. So, what do you guys think about that casting?
That's three people I love. So, Are you
excited about Pacific Rim at all? I haven't heard you talk about it, Brian.
Here's the thing. I see the preview, the first trailer and the poster and everything, and I thought it looked horrible. Like it looked like Transformers to me. But every single person that I trust that has seen screeners or any of the footage or anything like that has come out just blown away by it. So I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I did feel like I felt like from the first trailer that it was playing off of Del Toro's name and the legacy that he has in Hollywood Whereas if Michael Bay was attached to that movie, the exact same script, directed all that sort of thing, people would be dogging it right now. So that's kind of my take on Pacific Rim. I want to see it. But I'm very cautious about my anticipation for it.
Richard, you heard about Pacific Rim?
Yeah, I love Del Toro.
Pan's Labyrinth was great. Did you see that?
I love Pan's Labyrinth.
Hellboy.
I love Hellboy. I've heard his books are very good too. I haven't read them. But he's, I think, a really creative person that I don't know has certainly found the right or maybe he can never because of his artistic sensibility. But I don't think he's found the right vehicle really for his. Maybe Hellboy was that to an extent, but I don't know. But Pacific Rim looks really interesting. Brian's right. I mean, if it was Michael Bay, I think people would be, fleeing the theaters based on what they've seen. But I think you could say that. I mean, if you told me Michael Bay directed Lincoln,
right,
and it looked the same, I think that our problem there is with Michael Bay, not with Senor Del Toro. Well, that was kind of racist of me, Mr. Del Toro. And
unintentional.
It's all right. But I'm excited. I like everything he's done visually, especially. I think he has a really interesting mind for story. I think I always wanted him. He was always my pick to do a Harry Potter movie, and he almost did it like 6 different times. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with kind of a big summary, blockbustery thing. But yeah, those are really my thoughts on Pacific Rim. I've seen the trailer once, so I'm trying to I like to stay low key as much as I can.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up just because we're talking about horror movies tonight. But we'll talk about Evil Dead. How about right now?
Hey, what's up, Ma'am Fam? Kent here. And yes, if you're hearing from me, you know it's time to talk about Blue Apron. If you haven't tried out Blue Apron by now, what the heck are you even doing? Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They deliver fresh meals straight to your door. All the food is fresh. It's sourced from local farms. And there's no wasted ingredients. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time now, and they have still, to this day, never let me down. There's tons of variety. Some featured upcoming meals include summer vegetable and egg paninis, soy glazed pork and rice cakes, skillet vegetable chili with cheddar drop biscuits, holy crap, and garlic butter shrimp and corn with green bean salad. So take it from me. Try out Blue Apron now. Go to blueapron.com/mad. That's blueapron.com/mad. Get 3 meals on us for free. Nothing goes better with a movie than dinner. So check out Blue Apron. Blueapron.com/mad. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Hey, Ma'am Fam, question for you. Do you own a small business or are you a boss? Are you looking to hire awesome people but you just can't find somebody to fill that role? Well, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100+ job sites, all with one click. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Right now, you can post your jobs for free on ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. That's ZipRecruiter.com/mad. One more time, try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. Thanks to ZipRecruiter for supporting this episode of the Mad About Movies podcast.
This thing is attached to Mia's soul. We're gonna have to kill her.
You're all going to die tonight.
Richard Barton, thoughts on Evil Dead?
Well, I'm a fan of the original trilogy, kind of, in that I was a fan of it in high school, and then I went back and watched them recently, trilogy being the first 2 movies and then Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
I went back and watched them about a year ago and just did not enjoy them at all, and it was kind of... There's that, and then there's like Kevin Smith movies that I was just in love with at a 16-year-old, and now I go back and go, wow, this is, Richard Mallrats is not the greatest comedy of all time. And Evil Dead is the same. So so that being said, this movie is nothing like Evil Dead. I don't know why it's called Evil Dead.
Yeah.
It vaguely follows the storyline of Evil Dead, but it's a remake it's a reimagination, right?
You're right.
And I think it's the better for that. It's a cool little horror movie. It's overly violent, and it's terribly nihilistic, and it's I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said. It doesn't have much of a spirit of fun to it. I didn't find it much of a roller coaster ride as much of just a bunch of violent images put in front of me. And I enjoy those sometimes, and I think that's a viable form of entertainment. I'm not a horror movie fan. I have no ranking system. I've told Brian this. Horror movies for me are like roller coasters in that I've never found one that was, the Goldilocks. I've only ever found them where they're either, I ride roller coasters and say, wow, that scared the crap out of me. I'm never doing that again. Or I ride them and go, wow, I waited 2 hours in line for that boring piece of crap. I've never found one that was just like, that was the appropriate wait. I waited 45 minutes, and that was 45 minutes worth of fun. Horror movies are kind of the same for me in that I'm either I don't sleep for 6 months or I'm terribly bored. This left me in.
There's no way you were bored in this one, though. Let's be honest. Were you?
I wasn't at first, but yeah, I was after a while because it became redundant. The violence.
It gets so ridiculous.
Yeah,
it really does.
So ridiculous, and I did stay for the whole thing, which is which is rare for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because this is one you can easily walk out of. Let's be honest.
And I should have, but I was watching it for the podcast, and I was, if I'm going to write it off for tax purposes, I should stay for the whole thing.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I stayed. It was fine. You have to judge horror movies unlike anything. I guess there's some MacGruber parallels here. Horror movies and dumb comedies, you have to judge in their own world. They don't exist in the overall arc of cinema. They're experiences. They're not so much. And it was fine. I mean, I would give it. Gosh, if I were to give it out of 10, Kent, 6 or 7. 2.5.
What kind of a rating? What kind of a rating system? Are you basing it on horror movies in general, or all other movies? Do you know what I mean?
Horror movies in general, I would say.
Okay.
With The Shining being a 10, and I don't know, Teeth being a 1.
Troll 2.
Right, true. Troll 2 is strong. But it's just it walks this weird line of never fully. It seems like it doesn't really know what it's going to be, so it just throws more violence at you, and then it starts going down another kind of maybe interesting road, and then it's like, no, F this, we're just going to throw more violence at you. And I get it. If I was 17, it'd be awesome, and I would revel in the violence, and it would probably do horrible things to me psychologically long term, and I'd have to have years of when I was beating my kids in 40 years, I would have flashes of these things. But for me at 26, I just sort of was like, all right, I get it. But I didn't really enjoy it.
Cool. My thoughts are, I would have to agree with you that it's probably a 6 or 7, you said, out of 10, on a horror movie scale. It gives you everything you want and more than enough as far as gore. I think you can agree with that.
It's the goriest movie I think.
The goriest movie I might have ever seen in a theater.
Yeah. No, besides, I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think too. I mean, the closest thing I've seen gory-wise is, believe it or not, The Walking Dead. There's some stuff on there that is borderline heinous, especially some of the dismemberment and things like that that go on in The Walking Dead, and chopping off body parts and all that. So, having said that, this movie's incredibly gory in pretty much every sense of the word gore. I mean, every kind of gore is in this movie. I mean, name them, Richard. It's got guns, knives, glass, syringes, boiling water, setting on fire. How many other ways?
That's all I can think of. I'm trying to think of
getting hit by a car, I think, or flying through a car windshield.
Suspended, kind of hanging stuff.
Yeah. Getting raped by a tree.
Right. Well, that's
No,
in most
literally-
movies, though. These
literally
days.
raped
It's like
by
I
a tree.
can't go to the movie without a tree rape scene.
Yeah.
You know, and the Croods was like, okay, that's weird. Okay,
It was probably pretty gratuitous at that point.
yeah, no,
I mean,
and especially in that
tell
third,
your audience, guys. That's
yeah, the third Fern Gully. Ever since they introduced that tree rape, it's just no going back, right? No, but it's just excessively. It's just, you know, what can we do to piss off like the parents' movie council?
Yeah.
in 2 hours, it does that, and that's, you know, there's an audience for that, and it's silly and it means nothing, and it will probably cause 3 school shootings or something, and or I don't know what it means just culturally, and it's the society of violence we have, but to me it was just flat and just me. I don't know.
This movie definitely it set the bar, I think, for horror movies to come as far as like what else can you do? You know what I mean? I thought Cabin in the Woods did everything until I saw Evil Dead. I was like, this movie doesn't stop. It just keeps coming at you, Richard. Did you feel that way? Like, one thing after the other. Like, every time someone turns their head, something is getting sliced. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm not kidding, for like 45 minutes straight, it's just carnage. Words can't describe. I mean, just the images. Do you know what I mean? Richard, try to describe some of your feelings.
I mean, I have. There's nothing I don't want to do with it. It's hard to do without being crass. It's just disgusting. It's 2 hours of disgusting. We're lucky that I'm a shell of a human and I feel nothing.
Right.
If I
It's
had
desensitized to everything at this point.
if I had any sort of ability to feel or empathize, then yes, I would. You know, I would be mortified.
The practical effect. On a good note, the practical effects were very good.
They're very good, and it's like I said, it's relentless. I have an adverse reaction to violence, so I literally just laugh because it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And this movie was a laugh riot, because I was literally just giggling like an insane person sitting by myself at the 5 o'clock screening of this movie.
What was the most violent part of the movie? What was the moment? I mean, what I want in a horror movie if you're gonna have gore, I want a moment where I can't watch it because it's so gory. If I get through the whole movie and I didn't have to look away, I don't think it did its job in scaring me. Do you know what I mean? There was a moment in this movie where I had to look away. What was it for you, Richard?
My neck hurt from looking away. The close-up knife stuff gets me. I would rather be shot a million times than stabbed once, and that's just logic. Sound logic, guys. The close-up knife stuff got me. The boiling water stuff got me. What else? Other than that, wow, I'm a horrible human.
The cutting the arm off with the turkey.
That's what I mean. Yes.
The turkey cutter.
Yes.
Basically, Brian hasn't seen the film, but basically, Brian, what happens is, you know, when you are carving a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Sure.
You know, basically a girl just cuts her arm off with one of those, and they show pretty much every frame of her doing it.
We're talking about the Croods, right? Again.
Yeah.
Okay.
About the Croods.
My bad. I got confused there. No. That's you guys are you guys are affirming everything that I thought about the movie coming in and why I did not see it. Kent brought up Evil Dead and wanted to review it. And being the horrible friend that I am, I said, y'all are welcome to, and I will moderate, and I'll talk about, if you want me to, I'll talk about why I hate horror movies, but I can't watch it. I can't put myself through it.
I felt like this movie being marketed as the most terrifying experience you'll ever have, or whatever. What kind of marketing is that? Do you think that's the scariest movie you'll ever see in a theater, Richard?
I'm sorry.
No,
I
not
wasn't-
scariest movie.
Yeah.
Like not like bad
wasn't
movie,
scary.
but experience. The keyword experience. You know, terrifying experience. Was it?
I wasn't scared. I guess there's no real thematic. See, what scares me, like Silence of the Lambs, is much scarier than horror movie du jour. I don't find violence to be inherently threatening or scary. There has to be some sort of theme to it and a lot of tension that makes me nervous. And this isn't really that. It's not suspenseful, really. There's no real thematic structure to it. It's just violence, essentially, for the entire running time. And it just becomes ridiculous. It's almost a release at a certain point. So no, I don't think it's an effective marketing campaign. And certain people will be so grossed out by it that they will assume that's scary. I mean, it's not a lie. It's the most sort of outrageously violent movie you will see all year. But it's not. Did you find it really scary? Were you like worried?
I wasn't scared, but I agree with the fact that it might be the most uncomfortable experience you'll have. Maybe like I can't think of a movie that's gonna throw everything at you. Like they throw like it's basically rooted in demon possession. You know, not only violence, but you've got the whole possession factor, and that alone is, you know, The Exorcist is one of the highest grossing movies of all time. You know, that's a scary thing right there. So this movie like creeped me out in a lot of ways. It really did. I'm not going to say it's the scariest movie ever because I can't stand Saw. I can't do torture. Like that's my thing. I can do violence. I can't do like torture and some dude is just getting off to it in the next room. You know what I mean? Because that stuff really happens.
To both of you, by the way. Here's a little thing for you, and I hope he listens to the podcast. Who sees every Saw movie with their mom when they come out? Of our friends.
It's got to be Corey.
That's a good guess, but you would be wrong.
I know this. Never mind. I know this. Russ Pickett, ladies and gentlemen.
Russ Pickett loves the Saw movies. How creepy is that?
So weird.
That is weird.
Any Russ Pickett fans out there will appreciate that. But yeah, Ken, I was just about to say, I found any Saw movie to be more uncomfortable than this because
way more uncomfortable. I saw Saw 2 in the theater, and I didn't see any more of the Saw ones. That was it. Like the scene in Saw 2 where she's sticks her hands up in the box to grab the key, and they're like razor blades, and it's just so much. And they throw her in a pool of syringes. You know, just horrible, horrible stuff. Yeah. And this movie was way easier to watch for me than that. So I would say Saw is probably the scariest franchise maybe to be released. Paranormal Activity didn't really do it for me. I love slasher films though, and this was kind of borderline possession / slasher films. No pun intended there. But I'm a horror fan, so as far as what I want in a horror film, this is almost as good as you're gonna get, you know, as far as a remake. I think the Friday the 13th remake sucked, and the Freddy one sucked. So, any thoughts on any old? What's your favorite franchise?
I like Nightmare on Elm Street personally.
Yeah,
I liked. But honestly, I've always. Ken, I'm kind of weird on this. I think you're in one camp that you see all the horror movies. Brian's in the other camp where he sees none. I'm kind of in the middle. I just kind of see them catch as catch can. I don't keep up with any of them religiously. Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite series, but there's like 13 of those movies. I've probably seen 4 of them. I mean, I just don't. It's one of those things. Oh, group of people, we're going to see this movie tonight. All right, I'll go. I mean, I just don't. I don't ever really want to see them. I'll just see them if I have to see them. So,
I will say from a perspective of a horror movie lover that the last kill in this film is freaking unreal. Yeah. You know, the chainsaw?
Yes.
And this movie, I'll just say, it looks way better than any horror film I've seen in the past.
It does.
It's gorgeous. I mean, really.
Per our discussion earlier, this guy's a talented director. I would just be terrified to hand him the keys of any sort of family-aiming franchise. You know, aside from The Croods too.
Right.
But Yeah, so who knows? But I mean, gosh, people do different things. He certainly may be capable. He's a talent, though. I think that's the thing I saw. You're right. This is a great looking movie. I don't know who
That last scene is like,
but yes, it's incredibly planned out.
Incredibly like shot from a profile, like with low light and just blood. I mean, blood just shooting out from all directions. It just looked like candy. And when the house is burning down at the end and she's walking away, it's like Skyfall, you know, when the house is burning down. It was just beautifully lit.
Or Django.
Django, you know. Just seems like somebody that knew what they were doing was kind of in charge of the DP. Definitely. It wasn't like they just hired somebody off the street. Speaking of hiring off the street, what did you think about the casting? I don't understand why every horror movie has to have a complete no-name in every single role. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they keep the budget low on these things, don't they?
Yeah,
so
right.
I think they spend money on the effects.
Yeah. The budget on this movie was like $14 million.
Yeah, so they spent, and a lot of that's marketing.
Well, they doubled that already, yeah.
Yeah.
In the opening weekend or whatever, they made $30 million. So,
yeah, I was looking at the cast, and the only person that I recognize is Jane Levy, the girl who I guess gets, just from the trailer, it looks like gets possessed by a demon or whatever.
Good. She's incredibly good.
She's on Suburgatory, which I watched. Yeah, I watched the sitcom that she's on for a season before I got tired of it, Suburgatory. But yeah, I'm looking at the rest of the cast, and I don't know any of these people's names at all. So,
like, you would think though that at least one, they could get somebody that people know. You know, it doesn't have to be Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? It can be somebody random. But I would like to see one familiar face. That's all I'm saying. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to see Tom Cruise.
And it's a tentpole film. I would love to see Tom Cruise in Evil Dead. But I would like to see a, you know. It's not embarrassing. This is the number one film of the weekend. You know, it's not some shoddy like movie that's trying to start up. Do you know what I mean? It's like Evil Dead. Sam Raimi produced it and everything. But anything else to say on Evil Dead, Richard or Brian?
No.
I guess I'll ask.
I'll recommend it from a horror movie's perspective. If you like excessive gore in horror, see it. You won't be disappointed.
Well, Kent, as our resident horror expert, I'm assuming you've seen the original Evil Dead?
I watched it actually right when I came home from seeing the new one.
Okay,
and
how does it compare? Because I know that movie has a huge fan base and a cult following, and I'm always interested in remakes, even if I don't care about either of the movies. It's very interesting to me to see the what people think as far as the original versus the remake and how they compare.
Yeah, it's funny because the original Evil Dead is one of the most, worshipped horror movies of all time. And you go back and watch it, and people were going to talk about the new Evil Dead, be like, well, the acting wasn't very good. Some of the lines are cheesy. I mean, but you go back and watch the original, and it's twice as cheesy, It's twice as messed up as the new one. I mean, the new one didn't have any nudity in it whatsoever. The old one, it's just like boobs for the sake of boobs everywhere. When the girl's getting raped by the forest in the original, she's running away from it even. Her boobs are flopping out. Do you know what I mean? And then this new one, like, all right, we don't need that cliche. Do you know what I mean? It seems like the first one was just like right.
Well, this tree had less of a boob. He was more of an ass guy. This tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trees had pretty good taste. Like I'll just say, pretty cute girls though. But no, like this movie, like seems like it was trying to be a legitimate movie. Do you know what I mean? The original Evil Dead was just trying to be outrageous. I felt like in every form of the word. This movie was trying to make a good horror movie. The original is good, yes, and it's a classic, so I can't knock it really. But I mean, where you can criticize this one, you can also say the same for the original Evil Dead. So I think they did a good job, paying homage to the original and basically remaking it, for 2013. I feel like it's the same film, but the 2013 version of it. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Sure. So that's very similar to me of like the Red Dawn, the remake that came out a few months ago. Got a lot of crap because the original Red Dawn is kind of a cult classic. And I'd never seen the original. I went back and watched it sometime after I saw the remake, and I couldn't get through it. I mean, the original is brutal. It's so cheesy and so over the top 80s ridiculous. I enjoyed the remake far more than the original. But that's
Hey,
just
Brian,
to your point of.
I've got news for you if you want to get through it.
Sure.
You can go to adamcarolla.com
And
download his commentary of the original Red Dawn and sync it.
wow.
Yeah,
Sync it and listen.
that exists.
That would be the only way I could get through. I mean, it was bad. The original is bad. It's not good at all. And the remake's not good either. But I enjoyed it sort of. It was not horrible. So
I think that's why this North Korea stuff's going on, because I think they saw Red Dawn.
They're really ticked off about that. And
there's one more kill I want to mention in this movie that's freaking ridiculous, Richard. The one with the car and the girl's hand. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Where the girl basically a car falls on a girl's arm, rolls on her arm, and she basically cuts her hand off with the car. Did you almost lose your stomach at that part?
Yeah. I mean, the weird part was when James Franco showed up in his bicycle helmet, did it,
Yeah.
and cut the arm off.
That
was pretty gross. Just gross. I mean, but at that point, so much had happened that it was just like sort of goes in one ear and out the other, one eye and out the other. I just kind of took it in like I was an alien. That's how I like to watch these movies. Like I'm an alien.
It's like you're on another planet. You're experiencing what it's like on another planet for an hour and a half.
Study what this human race does, and I just sort of sat there and took it in. I got a lot of popcorn and difficult movie to eat through. Yeah. That was a mistake. That was $8 down the toilet. It was fine. I mean, the audience seemed to enjoy it. There was everything you would want in a horror movie audience of screaming, and the African American people were yelling out commands, and it was everything you would want in a horror movie experience in the theater. But to me, left me a little cold. Didn't really get the thematic structure, but you know what? Who cares? It was fine. It made $30 million. This isn't a movie built to win Oscars. It's done what it was built to do. Good for them. Interested to see what this director does next, and I will probably never think about this movie again, except for when I'm weeping in 60 years because my subconscious is caught up to me.
Great analysis there, Richard. Like I said, I recommend it if you like horror. And Brian doesn't like horror and says, don't watch horror. So we got all perspectives. That's all. That's what you guys pay for. That's why you guys pay us the big bucks.
Yep.
Exactly.
One of these days we'll do a pod and we'll just discuss horror in general and dissect.
Well, let's talk about
why you love it, while I hate it.
Talk about why you don't like it. This is a perfect opportunity.
Oh no, I mean I basically am in the same camp as Richard. It's slasher movies. I don't like gore. I can handle it when it's like a war movie, if I feel like it's realistic. But even that makes me squirm. I don't like gore. Slasher movies, usually I get very tired of it's all very cliche, and they do the same things. You're like kind of like what you said, Kent. There's going to be nudity at some point, and then this person's going to die, and then this and I get tired of that. And then anything that is related to demon possession or ghosts terrifies me to the point that I can't sleep for weeks. And so it's either I can't sleep and I'm
Crimson Peak is going to be one you're going to be seeing with me at midnight.
Probably not. Probably not.
One.
I can't even take the trailers, dude. When Mama came out at the beginning of the year, which by all accounts is not a scary movie whatsoever, but just those little kids saying "Mama" really quick freaked me out so much. And of course, the preview comes on, at midnight when I'm trying to get ready to go to bed, and then I have to spend another 2 hours reading a book about basketball so that I cannot think about that anymore. The same with Evil Dead. For one of the websites that I look at a lot for movie news, Cinema Blend. Shout out to cinemablend.com was this week. I didn't look at their page at all because they were running there was a banner ad that was just the girl's possessed face, and I just couldn't even look at the page. I'm just not, I don't know. I get freaked out too easily on that stuff, and I can't sleep. So I've got to avoid. So either I think it's stupid and just fret over how bad the acting and the writing and whatnot is. The worst movie I've ever seen, and I put this out constantly, the worst movie ever is Cabin Fever. And I don't know if either of y'all have ever seen that movie, but it's a horror movie, and it makes me, just thinking about it now is making me angry. It's a terrible movie.
Well, you say that, but a lot of that is just a visceral reaction to seeing Ryder Strong not as Sean Hunter.
It's true. That's true.
Cabin Fever.
Yeah, it took me a solid hour to get used to that, and then I didn't like it. I was upset about. I didn't know why he wasn't writing poetry anymore. It was, I don't know. I was just really disappointed in where Sean had gotten to. Yeah. I was hoping Angela would be back in the picture by then. I mean, it was just very disappointing. But no, I appreciate horror for what it is. I know lots of people like you, Kent, who are big fans of pretty much all things horror, and I'm a fan of
more of movies that don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I like horror because they're not really, and when they do try, I mean, there's some good horror movies like The Shining and others that stand for more than just scares. But the ones that just stand for scares, like The Evil Dead, the new one that we just talked about, I like that. It's like an escape for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like. Sure. Sometimes I want to sit in the theater and I don't want to have to follow the plot every line, or I'm going to miss, like Inception, do you know what I mean? If I miss one line, or if I go to the bathroom, then I'm going to miss the most important thing, you know what I mean? I like this movie because you could chop every scene individually and put them all in a blender and then reorder them at random, and I would still probably like it. Just because it's like ridiculous in every way, and the plot still wouldn't make sense.
Sure, so, and I totally respect that. That's how I feel about dumb action movies. I mean, I said last week I really have a like for Battleship, and no one else likes that movie, and it's really not a good movie, but I enjoy it, and I like that sort of dumb action movie. So I certainly can appreciate the enjoyment or why you and other people like the horror thing. I just can't do it. I'm just not able to sit through it. So,
well, I'm glad we have your perspective on this show for sure, because that's why we get paid the big bucks.
That's right. That's why we all earn $0 a year. That's
right, guys. Let's move on. Shall we, to weekly recommends? My weekly recommend this week is another documentary. I'm staying on the theme, guys, of film analyzation, because that's what this podcast is all about. This documentary is called These Amazing Shadows. It is on Netflix, and it is about the National Film Registry, which is basically like Library of Congress for film. I think it's actually kind of part of the Library of Congress, actually. So. It is. It's a great movie. It talks about classic cinema. It talks about kind of this preservation process, and they have started to restore some of these old negatives of classic films that have previously been destroyed, and they're starting to actually find films that they thought had been destroyed, and things like that. So it's a great movie about, if you like classic cinema, you should definitely check it out.
Sure.
So, have you guys heard about it?
You stumped me. I'd never heard of that documentary before, so I've written it down. I'm gonna check it out. I think that's a fascinating topic.
It's definitely you'll love it, Brian. I thought of you when I thought I'd recommend. So, Richard Barden, weekly recommend.
I'm going to do another book. I'm going to try to make this a regular thing so people can get some. You can be the documentary guy, I'll be the book guy, and Brian can be the Asian porn guy. Yeah. No, but a book, because of some, this is timely. I read this a couple years ago. It was my favorite book of the year, I believe, in 2010. And it really perfectly encapsulates the whole Conan Tonight Show era, as well as the whole Jay Leno taking back the Tonight Show. And as we know, Jimmy Fallon has been given the Tonight Show, and Jay Leno is on the outs. This is a book by Bill Carter, who also wrote The Late Shift, which kind of is a synopsis of the entire original Letterman Carson Leno debacle. This guy is really in deep within this circle. He gets great quotes from people: Kimmel, Letterman, Fallon, Conan, Leno, everybody involved in that whole situation in 2009. It's a great book. It's highly entertaining. It's very funny. Once again, these aren't unnamed sources. He's getting legit quotes behind the scenes from these people, and so it's a book I recommend highly if you're interested in late night television at all. Bill Carter, The War for Late Night.
Great. I really want to check that one out. I liked that that whole debacle was so fun to watch, and all those guys were so on their game during that time.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Conan, everyone comes off differently. Leno comes off bad for
He is bad.
Yeah, he's bad.
For obvious reasons.
Conan comes off not great, honestly. And the book is written mostly from his perspective. He comes off a little whiny, a little entitled, and some of it's justified and some of it isn't. Fallon comes off as just a 10-year-old boy excited to be there. Letterman comes off as aloof. And this was the book that was like really made me realize, oh, wow, Jimmy Kimmel is legit. Because I'm not kidding. Of the 15 funniest quotes in the book, like 13 of them are Kimmel.
Yeah.
And the way he kind of threw himself in the middle of that, even though he had no right to be involved.
Right.
And he just basically just atom bombed Leno's show when he went on there.
Yeah.
That they have the whole behind the scenes story on that. One of the funniest things you'll ever read and most interesting. And Kimmel just is so upfront about how he just doesn't like Jay Leno for no reason, just because he liked Letterman as a kid. and it's highly enjoyable. Kimmel definitely comes off the best. Jon Stewart as well. I mean, everyone is involved. Jon Stewart, Colbert. It's all about the entire late night scene in 2009, from network to cable. So check it out. It's a great book. Bill Carter is a great writer. He only writes about late night television, and he's immensely overqualified to write about something so trivial. But it's great that he does. And I mean, it's. I hope now. I don't know if there's enough drama in this transition, but I would kill for a third book in this series. So, The War for Late Night, Bill Carter.
Great recommend. Brian, did you already give yours? I don't know.
I didn't. No, I haven't.
Okay, go for it.
My recommend tonight is going to be a movie from 1997. It was nominated for Best Picture, and it has been on the HBO circuit the last couple of weeks, and that is L.A. Confidential.
Nice.
Have you guys seen this movie?
I do. I own it. I love it.
Yeah. A really good movie, one that I kind of go back and forth on how good it is versus how much I like it, if that makes sense. I really enjoy the movie. I like that sort of film. It handles the material better than any movie any contemporary movie in its class. I feel like that sort of mystery, crime solving bit. It does it very well. The
noir.
acting,
It's got that noir.
Yeah,
feel
the noir feel. I feel like it does it better than any other movie in its day. Anyway. It is a little bit cheesy, or maybe campy, I guess is a better word, but some of that at least is done purposefully. It was nominated for like 12 Oscars. The acting is superb. One of Kevin Spacey's, I feel like one of his better roles. It's a much different role than the other things that he is known for and that have made him such a powerful presence in Hollywood. Certainly a lot different than, say, Underwood in House of Cards or American Beauty or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. It's one of those movies that I don't watch particularly often, but every time I do come across it, I find myself getting sucked into it. And so anyway, it's on HBO right now, and I've watched bits and pieces of it 3 or 4 times, and finally a couple of days ago just sat down and watched the whole movie and really enjoy it. So if you've never seen LA Confidential, again, it's on HBO, and if not, you don't have HBO, then get out and rent it and check it out. It's a good movie.
It's funny you mentioned that because Gangster Squad just came out on, I believe, Blu-ray and stuff, and you look at Gangster Squad and you look at LA Confidential, and LA Confidential is what it could have been, and what Gangster Squad was trying to be. So
it's hard to believe the same creative team also made 8 Mile.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean completely different type of thing. I went back when I was watching the movie and I was looking at the director Curtis Hanson's film work, and it's different. LA Confidential definitely stands out. It's an interesting bit. So it's fun to watch. I really enjoy the movie a lot, and again, great work by the actors, and so check it out.
Definitely.
Russell Crowe in a much different role than he's been in.
Yeah, I forgot he was even in that. He's awesome in that.
Yeah, honestly, Gladiator is probably his most iconic role, but this is my favorite role of his. Very good movie.
Great recommend, Brian. Richard Barden, where can I find more of your work online?
NewYorkTimes.com. And no, you can find me at RichardBarden.com and at Richard Barden on Twitter.
Brian Gill. Or are you not done?
No, I was going to list off a few more fake things, but you know what?
Go for it.
Next podcast. You can find pictures of my chest hair on Instagram at Richard Barden. And I use the term hair singularly on purpose, not plural. You can find my antique gun collection on Pinterest. And you can find all of my wallpaper work on HomeDepot.com, the Richard Barden collection.
Brian Gill.
I love it. You can find me on Twitter at bgill12, and you can find my movie reviews and movie-related shenanigans at thesoapboxoffice.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Kent Garrison. You can email the show at madaboutmoviespodcast@gmail.com. You can leave us a review on iTunes. You can, tell your friends. You can like us on Facebook. You can do all that if you want. What, Richard?
Review us on iTunes. Give us some stars. Be honest. 5 stars, obviously encouraged, but be honest and leave us a review because, we're doing this by the seat of our pants. We would love some feedback from those of you who are listening. Leave us a review, shoot us an email, and that can only make the show better. And
yeah, exactly.
Love to hear from you.
Don't be shy, people. Don't be shy. Anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here?
That's all.
That's it.
I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Until next week, we will see you at the cinema.
Goodbye.
Go Expos.
See ya.